Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today we have a very special review, impressions of a knife that I've had in my collection for a bit that I've really enjoyed. And I have I have 4 of these, and so I feel like, all right, I really should limit it down to maybe 1 or 2 that I really like, maybe 1 or 3. So I'm probably going to be putting this one up for sale, but I wanted to review it because I've enjoyed it very much. It's my favorite version of this knife. So let's take a look at the Rick Hinderer XM-18 non-flipper. All right, so today we're looking at the Rick Hinderer knives. This is the XM-18 non-flipper. Notice there's no flipper on here, and it's exclusively made this way because it was requested. This particular one, what makes it different is the non-flipper, the action is a little easier to work with the thumb studs. And then you also find that the drop action is a little bit smoother as far as that is concerned. So it's very easy to use with the thumb studs, and I like that. Now also, I find it very easy to middle finger reverse flick this one too. I've at least tuned this one so that it's really comfortable to do that, both left and right-handed. So, and I can reverse flick it both left and right-handed as well, like that. So I find that really comfortable. This particular one originally came with red G10 scales, and I looked for different scales. I couldn't find any titanium scales at the time, so I did order the JG10 scales, and I had that. And so then I liked that a lot, but then I finally found MentonBoxx had these frag pattern scales, and MentonBoxx is one of the few that makes aftermarket Rick Hinderer scales. Now I have a lot of the original Rick Hinderer scales, titanium scales. I like that, but this was different. I wanted something that was frag pattern, was a little different than all the traditional Rick Hinderer. So like what you normally get with a Rick Hinderer scale is going to be something like this. This is sort of a typical kind of a milling pattern that you get, and so I wanted something a little bit different. You can see this, like here's an eclipse, with that milling pattern. So I like the idea of the frag. I thought that was really cool. So that's the first thing. So this is an aftermarket scale, but it works beautifully. The tolerances, if you know, MentonBoxx does a great job. This particular one is S45VN blade steel, which I think Rick Hinderer should, when they do S45VN and 20CV, they're really good at those steels. I'm not a fan of the MagnaCut because they seem to heat treat it a little bit low, so that's just my 2 cents on there. It's up for everybody's own opinion, right? But I would choose the S45VN blade steel. So my Eclipse, I believe, my Eclipse is it 20CV? It's S45VN blade steel, and I believe my Project X might be 45VN as well. Yeah, it's S45VN, which is really my favorite, right? I have a XM-18 Auto. It's in black DLC. That one is really cool, but that one is 20CV, which I think is great too. So I like that a lot. Let's talk about this. Titanium scales, which is traditional, is a design he's had for a long time, the XM-18. It's been around. The flipper it's got the really huge, when it has the flipper, a huge thing, and it's uncomfortable. I didn't like that. I had a Jurassic for a while, and I ended up selling that one because it was just uncomfortable, right? And when I saw this, I thought, oh, let's get this, and I got it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is great. Then I got an Eclipse, and I was like, oh, that's even better. I like that. And then I got the Project X, which I really like the Project X. Yeah, I like the Project X. It's really cool. I love the design of it. To me, it's a blade that just speaks, Rick Hinderer. I don't know. That's the creme de la creme of my knives is the Project X, right? But I like the Eclipse too. The Eclipse is really cool. And between the XM-18 and the Eclipse, I like the Eclipse more. So that's why I carry that one more than I ever carried this. I stopped carrying this once I got those other ones. And yeah, so MentonBoxx Eclipse there. I have all the original stuff. This is all the original hardware, beautiful steel standoffs. This is a Lynch clip deep pocket carry clip. It's titanium, which is nice because it does go pretty deep pocket. Nice carry, where the original clip will go here and go down here, and so you're about this yay deep. It does have a place for a lanyard if you're a big fan of that. So you can, there's a full milled version of this. This is the lighter version of it. So, there's different variations to it. The titanium on this one is not been milled out, so it's got some weight to it. We'll do some weights and measurements here in just a second. I do like the stonewash polished look. It's a very, very distinct kind of a look. Let's just wipe that off and get the fingerprints off of there because I'm touching it. And there you go. So you can see that beautiful polished stonewashed kind of a blade. There's a Rick Hinderer logo, USA, S45VN, typical. It's the typical billboarding. You've got the Hinderer over here, and then that's pretty much it. Jimping is really nice, very aggressive, but works, not overly aggressive. You can move over it if you need to. It doesn't like shred you as you're moving over it, but you push down and it holds you in place. You've got jimping there for that. Over here, if you're doing a reverse grip, you're doing a push cut, it can definitely have some nice jimping there. If you're doing a pull cut or you know, like that, you definitely have some nice jimping as well. So I like that. You do have the tri-way system, so this has the cage bearings in there, and I did put skiffs in there. So the original cage bearings, steel cage washers, and then there's also the Teflon, and then there's also phosphor bronze. So all three work in there. It depends on what you need it for. I like cage bearings. I'm not in the high dust environments, high steel dust environment where I worry about that. And skiffs, anyways, are kind of like phosphor bronze, and they're not just crimped over the cage bearings. They're like a full phosphor bronze where the radius cuts and the cage bearings pop in there. So there's no extra room for stuff to get into. So it's a very different, you know, experience with skiffs, and their tolerances are really high, and they always help a knife. And in fact, in this one, they've made it even more buttery smooth, and I really do enjoy that. So titanium scales, you got the titanium clip, S45VN blade steel, nice beautiful drop point. It is a slicer. They call this the slicer blade. It does have a little bit of a swedge on top. It's not gigantic, but it's nice and a little bit crowned, beautifully crowned, nothing sharp up there. Everything around here is comfortable. There's no sharp edges. I have large hands, and so if you have extra large hands with regular sized fingers, mine are really big meaty fingers, right? So large hands with meaty fingers, this would be equivalent to a extra large hand with regular fingers, or a double extra large hands with smaller fingers. So there you go, you got room. So I think extra large hands with big meaty fingers, probably double extra large hands with big meaty fingers, you'd be right over here, so you have plenty of room. And you can absolutely choke up. It's got a beautiful finger control that super works, and so you can even go up to triple extra large hands. I like that. Jimping works nicely up there. It's solid in place. It is the frame lock. It's fully engaged, and it does have a steel bar insert over travel stop, so it's not the titanium on carbonized on the back of the steel blade, which is fine, you know, but that allows for a little bit of extra less wear and more resilience, lasts longer, and you can always replace it if you need to. It does have an over travel stop in here, which is kind of one of the things he came up with, which is cool. Nice cutout here, easy access, beautiful jimping here, so it's easy to get to. Like I said, easy to get to, and once you clear that right there, you get right there, it drops beautifully. I like that. You can, if you try to just drop it here, there will be a double clutch that you have to hit, but if you get right here, then you're usually right past it. So, you know, some people, you know, that matters, may not to others, right? If you don't have as big meaty thumbs as I do, you're going to clear that clutch or that detent super quickly. But if you've got big meaty fingers like mine, sometimes I got to go down a little bit to make sure it gets by, because they're not your, you know, people's normal, you know, thumbs are probably about this size, and mine are just a little bit bigger. So there you go. They're not long, they're just big and wide. So there you go. I like all of that. Action's great. All the material is great. The deployment is fantastic. Even though it's thumb stud only, you have multiple deployment with the blade. You know, I can absolutely do middle finger reverse flick. So I like all of that. That's the blade, the finishing, the coating, all that stuff. Let's go ahead and do some measurements on this guy. See how much he weighs. It's not going to be super light. We are at 5.6 ounces, so it's not a super light knife. 5.6 ounces definitely has some weight to it. So, you know, there is that. Overall length, what are we looking at here as far as a knife? We're definitely over the 8-inch mark, I believe. So let's see, from the very tip right here, we are at 8, I would say, with the clip. Without the clip, it's 8 1/8 of an inch, but with the clip, we're 8 1/4 of an inch, right? And then the overall handle length, we're right at about 4 1/8 of an inch for the handle. If you do the finger control choke up, you've got 5 inches. So definitely a lot of room for bigger hands. I like that. The overall tip length from to the back is just over 3 1/2 inches, right at 3 1/2 inches, right? The overall cutting length is around 3 1/3 of an inch. I would say just past 3 1/4 of an inch. So about 3 1/3 I'm going to go with, or 3 3/8 or something like that. So there you go. All right. So let's look at the blade stock thickness. It's not super thin. I've got to let you know that ahead of time, but it's not super thick. But we are looking at 167 thousandths of an inch, so it's pretty big. It's not up there with Medford with the 0.2 inches, you know, 1/5 of an inch, but it's not a super thin one. So it's definitely going to be a workhorse. This is meant to be used and probably abused, if you will. It is meant to be a work knife. You know, I think he created this originally for as an EMT for people to use and work in hard situations and be a reliable tool. So I think it's going to be all that for sure. So there is that. All right, so we have that. What's the budget category? So the budget category in and of itself, with just a G10 scale, it's around $425. So it would be a regular knife. It would be a high-end knife between the $300 and the $600 range. So this would be just, if you just have the G10 scale, nothing else on there, it's that. Now, if you add this, like this clip, this is like the $30, $25 clip, $30 clip, whatever with shipping, that adds a little bit to the price. But then if you add a scale, even the titanium scales, Rick Hinderer sells. They're at least 200 to 250, depending on if you have the horse or not. The MentonBoxx was around 250. That's what they listed. I got it on sale, so it's like 220 or something like that. But it's frag pattern, so you're always adding about $250. So add that to the 425, so now you're at 675, right? And if you had a clip, if you do really nice clip, you could be anywhere from $30 to $100. The mill deep pocket carry clip, which I do have on the other ones, I'll show you. It is definitely kind of cool. I think I would have gotten it had I not already gotten that one. Adds about $100 to it, but it's absolutely worth it. I do like it a lot. To me, that's just beautiful. Like a nice clip. It's very solid in there. So I do recommend that, but it's not on this one. So, and then Skiff Caged Bearings, you know, you're looking at another 15, 20 bucks depending on shipping, right? If you pay for shipping or not. If you buy enough, you don't have to pay for shipping. But if you do and buy one set of skiffs, you're looking at another 20 bucks. So 20 plus, you know, here this is 50, and then you've got the 250, so that's 300, and 300 to the 425, so you're now at 775, right? So this definitely puts it into the custom Midtech range of a knife. Now it is a production knife as far as Rick Hinderer is concerned. There's a lot of hands-on when they do this. It's not like a big giant manufacturing machine, but there's a lot of hands-on. And to me, what kind of separates between custom and production in some regard, this is why I call this is more my Midtech, right? Is that you don't have the guy who designed a knife, his hands-on is not there. It's sort of like there's a spec, it's on a CNC machine, we just release it and then we let it go and it's out in the manufacturing floor and that's it. Whereas like someone like Rick Hinderer and Jonathan McNeese and you know, Brown Knives and other people, they're out there with hands-on. They're checking their products. They're working the machines. They're out there finishing, touching them up, you know, and stuff like that. That's kind of why I like Murphy-On at Microtech. When you get his customs, his hands-on, they're always way more expensive because his hands are involved in it, right? Whereas one's a production, a big machine that's out there being produced, that's different. That's different. So you add cost to that. And I feel like, you know, I think Hinderer is still in that realm. I know Chris Reeve Knives is because, you know, Chris Reeve's son, he's still very much involved in that. It is close to a full production, but I still feel like there's a lot of manual touches that are done that you just don't get anywhere else. Like you know, you're going to get a person who assemble it, who's going to check it, who's going to look for things and do quality control, and that's why I put it in the Midtech. It's not a custom, I get it. But when I look at Brown Knives, you know, and he does everything, or Oz Machine, he does most everything by himself and puts it together and finishes each of those knives. That to me is custom. I know some of you guys are like, wow, you got to mill it and bring in a forge and get an ingot. He's got to hammer it on an anvil, and you know, okay, sure, whatever. If that's your custom, that's fine. For me, it's a custom. So there you go. So that is definitely Midtech. So purpose, EDC hard use collection piece. Well, any Hinderer knife can be a collection piece. A lot of people just have them as a collection knife, period. But I think it's absolutely EDC, it's absolutely hard use. So you can do both of those 100%. I think this knife, I have a Jonathan, my McNeese, my Mech 2 3.5. I use that as a hard use. It's probably the one knife that I use like around everywhere. And it's kind of crazy because, you know, it was such a grail for me for the longest time, and then I got it and I use it. I use it and abuse it, and I love that knife. And to me, it's like, I don't know. It's like some people would never do that with that one, but I do. I really, that one is the one that I really enjoy using. I would do the same with this if I didn't have that one. This is very comfortable. Now, because I have the Eclipse, I got to tell you, this is going to probably be up for sale at some point. I'm going to probably have a knife sale or something and move this one along, let it go, put it on the block, so to speak. So we will do that. So overall design, what do I think about this? This is my favorite version of the XM-18 besides the auto. There is an auto that's really cool, and they do a really good job on the auto too. I actually have that. It's another knife. It looks very similar to this, except you have an auto and it deploys automatically, and it's pretty strong, and it's really nice. The one I have is a DLC, full DLC, so it's kind of cool. But this is really nice. I like the design. I like the comfort. It's very comfortable. It's very ergonomic. Everything about this is good. It's very comfortable, and it works. It works well, and it works really nicely. So to me, this is my favorite version of the XM-18 besides the auto, right? If I'm not a fan of the flipper, so if you're not a fan of flipper, if it's uncomfortable, if it's, you know, doesn't work for you, this might be nicer. Now the thing about the flipper, if you have the flipper on that one, this is usually tuned to be much harder, much stiffer. The detent's much crisper. It's a little more difficult to deploy, where this is a little softer, a little easier to deploy with the thumb stud as opposed to not having the flipper. I like that. I like that a lot, and I think this is my favorite version between a flipper and a non-flipper, I'd choose the non-flipper any day. And it got me back into trying Rick Hinderer knives, because after that Jurassic, I was kind of like a bad taste and I wasn't going to do it. But everyone talked about how good this is, and I saw an opportunity, and I did, and I got it, and I was like, okay, I really do like it. I really, really, really dig this one. So very, very nice. So got this back in the collection, back into what I have, so I'm super excited about that. But now it's going to be a catch and release, because I have 3 other Hinderers. I got to move along. I can't have too many, and I don't carry them. That's the problem. So opening, closing is fantastic. Like I said, I love it. Its action is beautiful. You can do that control drop shut. It's not a guillotine, right? I prefer now it's a little guillotine right now, probably. I don't know if it's loose. Is it loose? No. Maybe I can tighten that up just a hair, because I do like a little more control drop shut. But typically, I guess when it's a little cooler or something, maybe it's a little tighter, and it was more drop shut when I first tuned this in the cold. So there you go. All right, so fidget factor on this guy. Well, typically thumb studs, the best you can get is a 2, as far as I'm concerned, right? That's the best you can get. But you have the bonus flick, so I'm going to give it a 3.5. Just going to get a 3.5, because that, of course, now I can't do it. That bonus flick is very reliable for me. Both left and right hand, I have no problem. I typically don't ever fail that bonus flick, like I said. Yeah, I don't fail it. And once I get comfortable and start fidgeting, it works real well. So I'm going to give it a 3.5, which is going to round up to a 4. So that's because the thumb studs work great left and right-handed. They're just really wonderful left and right-handed, and they work. They work really great. But the bonus flick adds that extra niceness to it. So fidgety goodness, as far as this is concerned, and you're going to do a non-flipper, I'm going to give this 100. I'm going to give it 100. The bonus flick just gets it right up there. It gives it a little extra goodness to it. So fidgety goodness is going to be 100 for this one. Yeah. If not, it's a 99, but it's close. I mean, maybe a 99.5, and we'll round it to 100. Let's call it that. So there you go. Overall, what are my thoughts? I think I wouldn't recommend the flipper. Honestly, I'm not a fan. But the non-flipper, I really like. So it's absolutely a recommended knife. And I do recommend getting the titanium scales. You can get the regular Hinderer scales, or you can get the MentonBoxx scales. I think they're both really gorgeous. There's other fat carbon custom scales that people make, and you can get those too as well. And there's some people who make custom scales regularly. They just do a great job. You should check them out. Some of them actually follow this channel, and their work is phenomenal. They're outstanding stuff, right? This right here, I do like the titanium. I do. And I like the MentonBoxx. It was a nice mix-up, change-up, if you will, in the design, and I love that aesthetic a lot. So to me, that was really, really, really cool. I think that was really something neat as far as I'm concerned. So there you go. I do recommend it. So let's go ahead and do a quick zoom in. Take a look at that blade. So here we can see that big, beautiful slice of blade. You can see the Hinderer on there, and you can see the nice, beautiful frag pattern. Gorgeous little design in there all the way through. You can see inside. There's no weight relief, right? You can see the frag on the lock bar. Beautiful access to it. Over travel stop steel bar insert. You can see the nice lanyard hole back there. Nice priorities for that. You can easily get there. There's the lynch clip that goes down. This is the lighter version. You can definitely get the heavier version, which I also recommend. You got all the beautiful little hardware around there. And here's the frame lock. Looks nice. This is milled out. It's not super sharp, which is really comfortable. Then you've got the back of the blade here, USA, S45VN, big, beautiful thumb studs, nice full flat grind. At least flat to here, and then not here. So it's a slicer going out to the tip for sure. So, and then you can see the tip right here is pretty good, solid. It's a robust blade. It'll definitely do some pokey job into your dog food, cat food, fertilizer, mulch, cases of water, Amazon boxes, whatever you're going to use the tool for, right? And you're working around the house, you're working around on whatever you're working on, maintenance. It's a good tool. I think this would do well for hard use, and I could see a lot of people doing that. All right, so let's get a nice full picture so we can get a nice shot here for the video. I love the frag pattern. I think MentonBoxx did a really nice job. I'm a big fan of that, some of his stuff, right, for sure. And this particular one, I think, is one of my more favorite scales that he's done. So I like that a lot. All right, so let's look at the back here. All right. Any thoughts on this? Any thoughts on yours if you have one, or if you're thinking about getting one? I'd love to hear your 2 cents on there, what your experience has been, what you feel about the knife. So yeah, share that with me. Hey, if you found this content fun, interesting, worthwhile, or informative, would you please consider hitting the like button down below? And if you've already hit that like button, would you also please consider hitting the subscribe button down below? Subscribing and liking the videos really helps out the channel, allows the channel to produce more content, do more things, ultimately do more things for you guys. So thank you. Thank you to everyone who watches the videos, who's part of the videos, who comments and in the live streams and on the videos. I appreciate you guys so very much. Thank you. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. And if you haven't already, maybe hit that notification button down below so you can be notified of future content like this video. Yeah, I appreciate you. And a big shout out to my channel members out there. Thank you for your support of this channel. You allow me to do things a little bit sooner than I ever thought I'd be able to do. And if it wasn't for your support, yeah, it wouldn't happen. So thank you. I appreciate you guys so very much. And if you didn't know, you can be a channel member too. There's a link down below in the description. I have 3 different tiers. Don't want anybody ever to feel obligated, but you're more than welcome, and I'd be honored if you were a channel member. And it's a small way for me to say thank you to the channel members. I do a once a month members giveaway. It's usually an exclusive knife. It's not just a little budget banger, which I like to do every week. I like to give a little budget knife away, but it's a more exclusive fancy knife. So you guys are so generous with the memberships. I want to be generous back to you, and so I usually try to make sure it's a generous giveaway for the members, so that everyone has all the members have an opportunity to win that. And then also for every brand new channel member, I would love to mail you a channel member sticker. That's my way also to say thank you to you. It's a personal way to say thank you. And if you were a channel member you've been a channel member all this time, you're still a member now, or if you were a channel member before and became a channel member again and are a channel member now, and you've never asked me for a channel member sticker, never received one, email me as well. I'd love to mail you a sticker and say thank you as well. So thank you to everyone out there who's part of this channel. You guys make this so much fun, this crazy hobby that we do. Yeah, thank you. If you haven't already, check me out over on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Again, that's on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day and a great week. Bye.